Hello and welcome again to the Management Channel. This particular section we're going to look at the very complicated process of locating where to put your business, where the facility is going to be located. So we're going to determine the reasons why a location analysis is necessary. We're going to identify and define the 7 major factors that affect location decisions. We're going to take a quick look at labor productivity. We're going to apply the factor rating method. And we're going to look at how to complete a locational break-even analysis, both graphically and mathematically. So, the strategic importance of location, what's the objective of it? The objective is to maximize the benefit of location to the firm, the best location for the best exposure, and to gain the best over your competition. The options include expanding your existing facility, maintaining your existing facility and adding another site, or closing your existing facility and relocating to a different area, which, as you know, happens as many companies have left the U.S. And we're going to find out why here in a little bit. Location decisions arise for a variety of reasons. Number one, adding new facilities as part of a marketing strategy to expand your markets into other areas or maybe even overseas. Another reason would be the growth in demand that can't be satisfied by expanding your existing facility. It could be a depletion of basic inputs of resources requiring relocation. There could be a shift in the market, or the cost of doing business at a particular location makes relocation attractive. And again, we're going to see why some places move to Mexico. There are some global location disadvantages that need to be thought of. Number one, the transportation costs, the cost of security. What about the cost of having unskilled labor? Are there import restrictions? And how much will your business suffer and get criticism for location out of the country? Some factors that affect your location decisions. Globalization adds to the complexity of the market economics, communication, the ability to have rapid, reliable transportation, the ease of capital flow, and the differing labor costs. You want to identify the key success factors. So, key success factors are political risks, governmental rules, attitudes, or any incentives, culture and economic issues, location of the markets, labor talent, attitudes, productivity, costs, etc., availability of your supplies, your communication, and energy, very important, exchange rates and currency risks. For a regional, a key success is corporate desires, attractiveness of the region, the labor availability and costs, are they union or non-union, cost and availability of utilities, environmental regulations, some states have stronger ones than others, government incentives and fiscal policies, and what's your proximity to raw materials and customers? And what are the land construction costs? A site decision. The key success factors are the site size and cost. Is there air, rail, highway, and waterway systems for transportation? What are the zoning restrictions? The proximity of services and supplies needed all come into play. And what are your environmental impact issues? Choosing a country location requires careful planning. As you can see in the 2011-2012 ranking, Switzerland was first, Singapore was second, U.S. was fifth, China was 26th, so there's a difference. Labor productivity, wage rates are not the only cost, but lower productivity may increase your total cost. So if you take a look at your labor cost per day divided by the productivity of how many units you produce a day, you get your cost per unit. In South Carolina, for instance, it would be $1.17 per unit. But in Mexico, it might be $1.25 per unit. So in this case, you might be better off staying in South Carolina. Exchange rates and currency risk could have a significant impact on your costs as currency rates change frequently over time. What are the two types of costs? Well, we have tangible, which are easily measured costs such as utilities, labor, materials, your taxes. But your intangible are less easy to quantify and include education, public transportation, community, the quality of life, political risk, values, and culture, national, state, local governments' attitude towards private or intellectual property. Their zoning, pollution, employment stability may be in flux. Worker absenteeism happens from worker attitudes, resulting in turnover, unions. Global cultures have different attitudes towards punctuality, legal and ethical issues, which you need to take a look at. And we cover that topic in global management. Ranking corruption. Well, hard to believe, but in 2012, this was the corruption production index. Number one corrupt was Denmark, Finland, and New Zealand. Russia was only 133. 19 was the United States. So look over this chart for a moment. Pause if you need to. Some other location decision factors are your proximity to the market, and it's very important to those offering services rather than goods. Just-in-time systems or high transportation costs may make it important to manufacturers. You also want to have a proximity to your suppliers. Are you reliant upon perishable goods? Is there high transportation costs? Do you have big bulky products? And proximity to your competition. It's often driven by resources such as natural, informational, capital, talent. This is found in both manufacturing and service industries. So take a look at this clustering of companies table. We have the industry, location, and the reason for clustering. View this for a moment, and if you need to pause, feel free to do so. A popular method for providing a wide variety of factors in the analysis is the factor rating method, and it's a 6-step method. Number one, develop a list of relevant factors, or what we call the key success factors. Assign a number weight to each factor, and then develop a scale for each factor. Score each location for each factor. Multiply the score by weights for each factor for each of the locations you chose, and then make a recommendation based on the highest point score. An example. Here you can see France and Denmark, scores out of 100, and we're rating on labor availability and attitude, people-to-car ratio, tax structure, etc. And we can see in this case, with the weighted scores multiplied out, that France had a higher score than Denmark. Therefore, France would be more attractive. Locational cost volume analysis is an economic comparison of location alternatives. There's 3 steps in this one. Determine your fixed and variable costs for each location, plot the cost for each location, and then select the location with the lowest total cost for expected production volume. So again, an example. 3 locations. Selling price is $120. Expected volume is 2,000 units. In Athens, we have a fixed cost of $30,000, a variable cost of $75,000, the total cost being $180,000. Brussels has a fixed cost of $60,000, but a $45 variable cost, and thus the total cost of $150,000. Lisbon has $110,000 fixed cost, but a lower variable cost of $25, giving a total cost of $160,000. So you figure the total cost by looking at the fixed costs plus the variable cost times volume. The crossover point would be Athens, Brussels, or Brussels, Lisbon. And you can see the math here. So when we chart it out, you can see that it depends on the volume versus the annual cost. So if you're only producing 1,000 or less, then it appears Athens has the lowest cost. If you're producing between 1,000 and 2,500, Brussels has the lowest cost. But if you're producing over 2,500, then in turn Lisbon has the lowest cost. There's also what's called the center of gravity method. This finds location of distribution center that minimizes distribution costs. It considers the location of the markets, the volume of goods shipped to those markets, and the shipping cost or distance. So you place existing locations on a coordination grid. With the grid origin and the scale is arbitrary, maintain relative distances though, you calculate the x and y coordinates for the center of gravity, and it assumes cost is directly proportional to distance and volume shipped. So you can see the example here. In Chicago, number of containers shipped per month would be 2,000. Pittsburgh would be 1,000. New York would be 1,000. Atlanta would be also 2,000. So we're going to plot it out here. Chicago, it'd be there. New York would be there. Pittsburgh would be there. And Atlanta would be down here. So you plot out your coordinates, x and y, with all the numbers and the manufacturing from all the different locations that you had. If you look back at this chart, you'll see that these numbers coordinated with the location. And then you plot Chicago, again, New York, Pittsburgh, Atlanta. Your center of gravity, because of the volume that you're doing versus distributing to these key cities, should be right about there. Then there's the transportation model. Finds amount to be shipped from several points of supply to several points of demand. Solution would be to minimize total production and shipping costs. A special class of linear programming problem So as you look here at this one, please read through this chart. I'm not going to read it all to you, but here's services versus goods producing organizations. Feel free to pause as needed. And let's take a look at how hotel chains select their sites. Location is a strategically important decision in the hospitality industry. You don't want to be where there isn't traffic, you want to be where there is traffic. La Quinta started with the 35 independent variables and worked to refine a regression model to predict their profitability. The final model had only 4 variables: the price of the inn, the median income levels for the area, the state population per inn, and the location of nearby colleges. Colleges because parents come to visit their kids. 51% of the profitability is predicted by just these 4 variables. The Geographic Information System is an important tool to help in location analysis in that it enables more complex demographic analysis. Available databases include detailed census maps, detailed maps, utilities, geographic features, and locations of any major services. So here you can see a map and the competition looking at the best place to locate. There are a lot of questions. There are a lot of tools for selecting your business location, and I'm going to recommend that you do a Google search and find out what other business location methods and tools there are. Thank you for viewing. Have a great day.